Welcome to Beyond the Band, new VCAL technology in body-powered prosthetics. This continuing education course is designed specifically for you, the prosthetist, working to improve patient care. We are going to explore a significant advancement in body-powered prosthetic technology, the modular, voluntary closing auto-locking terminal device. We'll look at how this innovation addresses real clinical challenges you face every day, and will equip you with practical evaluation tools you can use in your clinic. Let's get started. Let's begin by establishing why this technology matters for your clinical practice. Body-powered prosthetics remain the clinical workhorse in upper limb prosthetics, and for good reason. They're reliable, durable, and don't require batteries or complex electronics. Your patients know this. Many simply want dependable control they can count on day in and day out. But there's a challenge traditional body-powered systems come with. It's a trade-off that can lead to frustration, fatigue, and many times abandonment. Users have to choose between voluntary opening devices with limited grip force or voluntary closing devices that require constant tension to maintain any grip at all. This is where VCAL technology comes in. VCAL, that's voluntary closing, auto-locking, reduces both physical risk and cognitive load. It gives the user the graded force control they need with the added benefit of being able to lock that grip in place and rest. For your patient, this means less fatigue, better safety, and more confidence in daily tasks. For your clinic, this means better outcomes, lower abandonment rates, and higher satisfaction. By the end of this course, you'll be able to do 3 things with confidence. First, you'll clearly differentiate between VO, VC, and VCAL mechanisms. You'll understand not just how they work, but when each is most appropriate for your patient's needs. Second, you'll be able to link control mechanisms directly to functional outcomes. This isn't just about the mechanics. It's about real-world function and performance. And third, you will have simple, practical clinical tests you can run tomorrow. These aren't complex research protocols. They're straightforward evaluations that reveal meaningful differences in performance, safety, and user experience. Let's move forward and look at the context that makes this technology so relevant right now. To understand where we're going, we need to understand where we've been. Body-powered hooks have been around for over a century. The fundamental design we still use today were largely established decades ago. And while they served users well, their limitations have persisted just as long. Users want devices that can be serviced and repaired without waiting weeks for manufacturer intervention. They want to stay active and productive. The legacy VO and VC mechanisms we've relied on for so long have real constraints. Voluntary opening devices are durable, yes, but they're limited to the amount of grip force they can generate. Voluntary closing devices offer graded force control, but users must maintain constant cable tension to hold anything. Modular design is the answer. When components are field serviceable and replaceable, your patients stay in their devices longer. Repairs happen faster. Adoption rates improve. The VCAL cartridge system embodies this philosophy. It's built to be maintained, not just replaced. Let's talk honestly about abandonment. The statistics aren't great. Upper limb prosthetic abandonment rates remain stubbornly high, and one of the key drivers is grip uncertainty. Think about your patients using traditional VC devices. They're holding a glass of water, a fragile item, or a tool. To keep that grip closed, they have to maintain sustained cable tension. That constant shoulder and scapular effort leads to fatigue. Over time, it leads to compensation patterns, discomfort, and frustration. Now consider VO users. They face the opposite problem. To keep a light grip open, they must maintain tension to overcome the rubber bands. That sustained effort to remain open also causes fatigue. Auto-locking addresses these issues directly. With VCAL, the user applies force to close the grip, eases off to engage the lock, and then the device holds without any further effort. No sustained tension, no constant muscular engagement. The grip stays put until the user decides to release it with a short cable pull. This isn't just about comfort, it's about safety. Grip uncertainty drives risk. When users aren't confident their prosthetic will hold under load, they avoid certain tasks, compensate with awkward postures, or experience unexpected releases that can be dangerous. VCAL technology directly improves safety and confidence. Here's something we don't always measure in the clinic, but it matters enormously in daily life: cognitive load. Traditional body-powered devices require users to constantly monitor their terminal device. Is the grip still holding? Do I need to adjust my posture to maintain tension? Am I about to drop this? VCAL capability fundamentally changes this. Once the auto lock engages, users can look up. They can focus on the task at hand instead of visually checking their device every few seconds. We call this eyes-up operation, and the benefits are significant. When users can keep their eyes on the task, whether that's navigating a workspace, interacting with another person, or simply moving through their environment, they work faster, more safely, and with fewer errors. They're not splitting their attention between the task and the device. The short video here is that of a user holding a nail set and striking the head of a nail with a hammer. That reduced cognitive load translates directly into better performance and greater independence. Now let's get into the specifics of the technology itself. Let me introduce you to the VCAL system. VCAL stands for Voluntary Closing Auto Lock. At its heart, it is a modular cartridge design that gives control back to you and your patient. With the VCAL cartridge system, you have options. The locking mechanism is contained in a replaceable cartridge that can be serviced in your clinic. If something needs attention, you can address it without sending the whole device away. This is a game changer for continuity of care and user satisfaction. The modular design also means your patient can switch between locking and non-locking modes depending on their tasks. They have flexibility. You have clinical control. And most importantly, the device stays in service. Let's look inside a VCAL-capable device. What you're seeing is a voluntary closing terminal device that has been designed to accept the locking cartridge. The base VC device provides all the standard functionality you'd expect: cable-operated, body-powered control with graded force. But when you install the locking cartridge, you add the auto-lock capability. This modular approach means you don't have to stock entirely separate devices for VC and VCAL applications. You can configure the same base platform to meet different patient needs. It's efficient for your inventory, and it's responsive to your patient's evolving requirements. The cartridge itself is engineered for durability and field serviceability. You'll have access to clear instructions and support for installation and maintenance. This is clinic-level control, not manufacturer-dependent repair. Let's make sure we're all speaking the same language. There are three key mechanisms we're comparing in this course. First, VO, voluntary opening. This is the traditional split hook design where rubber bands close the device and cable tensions open it. VO devices are durable and they have been the standard for decades, but they offer limited grip force. You're constrained by how many rubber bands you can practically use and how much reverse tension the user can comfortably generate. Second, VC, voluntary closing with no auto lock. Here, cable tension closes the device and it springs open when tension is released. VC gives you the graded force control. The harder you pull, the tighter your grip. But there's no lock. If you want to hold something, you must maintain that cable tension continuously. Third, VCAL, voluntary closing, auto lock. This combines the graded force control of VC with an auto lock mechanism. Close, ease off, and the lock engages. The grip holds without sustained tension. A short cable pull releases the lock when you're ready. Importantly, VCAL-capable devices also offer a non-locking mode. Non-locking mode behaves like a conventional VC for rapid, repetitive tasks. Pro Series devices are designed to accept the locking cartridge, making them VCAL-capable. You're adding functionality to a proven platform. Let's compare these three mechanisms side by side so you can see the trade-offs clearly. VO devices are durable, but they're limited in force generation. You're working against rubber bands, and there's only so much grip strength you can achieve. VC devices offer graded force control, which is excellent for tasks requiring variable grip. Need a light touch? Pull gently. Need more force? Pull harder. But here's the catch. Constant tension is required to hold. Your patient's shoulder and back muscles are engaged the entire time they're gripping something. VCAL devices eliminate the VO-VC trade-off. They're durable, they offer graded force control, but critically, they hold without sustained tension. Once the lock engages, your patient can relax their shoulder, maintain their grip, and keep working. And here's something that often surprises people. VCAL devices can remain closed even when the prosthesis is at rest. That's a significant functional advantage for many activities of daily living. Now let's see exactly how the auto lock mechanism works. You'll notice in the embedded video demonstration how intuitive this process is. The user closes the grip with cable tension, then eases off to allow the lock to engage. To release, a short, quick pull on the cable disengages the lock.
What kind of force you can apply, because you are the decision maker in this case. So it's just a very light grip, nothing too strong there. Release it. We'll go a little bit more, which is about a medium grip. And then we're going to go all the way, which is pretty firm. You wouldn't be able to remove this from my grasp without tearing it. And then just, once again, just another momentary force to open the fingers, and off you go.
VCAL-capable devices offer 3 distinct operating modes, each optimized for different tasks. The embedded video will demonstrate how users switch between these modes and when each is most appropriate.
We're going to start out with mode 1, which is switch in the most forward position. That opens the device to a 3-inch opening. Also locks anywhere along the open and close path. I'm going to show you mode number 2, which opens to 1.25 inches, but it does not lock. And that is used for repetitive grasps and releases when you want to move objects, but you don't want a lock in that process. And then we have mode 3, which also opens to the 1.25 inches, but it locks in any position along its open and closed path for any need to hold on to an object indefinitely. And those are the 3 modes.
One of the most important features of VCAL technology is the proprioceptive feedback it provides. Your patients need to feel the force they're applying. That's what allows for intuitive, natural control. VCAL devices offer graded force control. The harder the user pulls the cable, the more grip the force they create. This isn't on or off, it's variable and responsive. They can adjust in real time based on what they're holding. But feedback isn't just about force. These devices also provide audible cues. Users can hear when the lock engages and when they've released. These acoustic signals reduce the need for visual monitoring. And proprioceptive feedback, the sensation of tension in the harness and the cable, gives users information about grip status without having to look. They can feel when they're gripping, when they've reached the limit of closure, and when they're relaxed. All of this supports natural, intuitive control. Your patients aren't learning a completely foreign system. They're learning to interpret feedback that makes sense to their bodies. That's why training time is measured in hours, not weeks. Let's talk about the real-world benefits that matter to you and your patients. One of the most significant practical advantages of VCAL technology is the serviceable design philosophy. The replaceable locking cartridge and field serviceable components mean devices stay in use longer and support better adoption rates. The embedded video will walk you through the maintenance process.
Remove the cap. By removing this screw, we're going to drop this screw off here. So we need the key. Going to remove the cap. And then we're going to close the device, and we're going to use the Allen key to hold the spring back. There's a little spot in there for that. We're going to rotate the removal tab to this outermost position. We're going to take the removal tool, and we're going to slide it in and underneath, and then we're going to pull out the cartridge. And then obviously this is not a new cartridge, but to reinsert it, it's basically kind of the same thing in reverse, but we have to line up the tabs. Let's get those lined up. Slides in very nicely. We are going to remove the Allen key, open the device back up, take the cap. It's kind of a little bit of a twisting motion to get it on, but once it's there, we can take the screw, put the screw back in. Tighten it down.
Training time is a critical factor in prosthetic adoption. VCAL technology is designed for fast, intuitive onboarding. The embedded video includes the concept we call cradling and demonstrates just how quickly users become competent, which directly supports reduced abandonment rates.
Its locking mechanism is that I can choose to close the device part of the way. It will stay locked there for situations like this where I want to cradle an object but not necessarily grasp it. This will keep the fingers from sliding past the handlebars and give me a lot more control if I need to remove the device from the handlebars themselves.
Here's a phrase you'll hear from VCAL users. Quote, "It's like doing twice the work with half the effort." End quote. That's not marketing, that's lived experience. When the locking mechanism engages, users can release cable tension. They're no longer holding the cable to maintain grip. Instead, they're simply holding the object. The muscular rests this enables is profound. Think about your patients with traditional VC devices. They're recruiting shoulder, scapular, and back muscles continuously during grip activities. Over time, this leads to fatigue, compensation patterns, and sometimes pain or overuse injuries. With VCAL, once the lock engages, those muscles can rest. Your patient maintains the functional grip they need without the sustained isometric contraction. This has downstream effects: less shoulder compensation, better posture, reduced fatigue at the end of the day. And consider the tasks this enables. Here's one example of whipping a sand-filled towel when you're ready to leave the beach. Reduced muscular demand translates directly into better tolerance, higher satisfaction, and lower abandonment risk. Confidence is everything in prosthetic use. If your patient doesn't trust their device, they won't use it for tasks that matter. Locked holds dramatically reduce the risk of unintended release under load. When your patient is carrying something heavy, a pot of boiling water, a toolbox, and in this case a loaded pizza, they need to know that the grip will hold. With traditional VC, if they relax tension even slightly, the grip opens. With VCAL, the lock is engaged and holding is independent of cable tension. This confidence enables safer handling of both heavy and fragile items. Heavy items require sustained grip without fatigue. Fragile items require consistent, reliable hold without sudden releases or closures. VCAL addresses both. And there's another benefit: improved bimanual coordination. When your patient knows their prosthetic grip is secure, they can give full attention to what their sound hand is doing. They're not constantly splitting focus or compensating for uncertainty. Bimanual tasks, cooking, assembly work, hobbies, caregiving, all become smoother and more natural. This confidence factor is hard to quantify on a spec sheet, but it's what drives real-world use and satisfaction. The ergonomic benefits of VCAL technology extend beyond reduced fatigue. Users can maintain grip closer to their body, which improves posture during lifts and carries and supports a better working envelope. The embedded video demonstrates this real-world scenario.
In my case, the working envelope is pretty much about 18 inches from my body in front of me. That is the hardest area in which to manipulate objects, because with a body-powered setup like I have, it requires you to either extend your arm out to shorten the cable and manipulate your device, or round your back. And in this space, it's much harder to do either of those things. With the ProHensor, though, I can grasp an object, lock on it, and then work in the working envelope very easily without needing to continue applying pressure to the device.
Here's something that makes implementation straightforward. VCAL technology works with your existing clinical infrastructure. There are no batteries, no firmware, no charging stations, or electric troubleshooting. This is a mechanical body-powered technology enhanced with the locking mechanism. Your patients don't need to worry about dead batteries or electronic failures. VCAL devices are compatible with standard body-powered cables and wrist units. You're not rebuilding the entire system. You're integrating a new terminal device into the harness and cable setup you already know how to fit and adjust. And for your clinic, this means VCAL integrates into your existing component inventories. You don't need an entirely new set of tools, parts, or protocols. The learning curve for you as a clinician is minimal, and the benefits to your patients are substantial. This compatibility and simplicity make adoption easier and faster for everyone involved. Now let's get practical. How do you evaluate VCAL performance in your clinic? The best clinical evaluations are the ones you'll actually use. That means keeping protocols simple, meaningful, and tied to real functional tasks. When you're evaluating VCAL technology, focus on bimanual work, carrying tasks, tool use, and precision handling. These are the activities your patients do every day, and they're where VCAL offers the most significant advantages. What should you measure? 3 things: safety, fatigue, and cognitive load. Safety shows up as slip events, unexpected releases, and near misses. Fatigue appears as increased perceived exertion, compensating movements, and time to form break. Cognitive load manifests as gaze checks, errors, and reduced performance over time. You don't need expensive equipment or hours of testing. What you need is a structured approach that reveals meaningful differences. You'll be comparing 3 device types: VO, VC, and VCAL-capable. Remember, VCAL devices can also operate in non-locking VC mode, so you're really looking at how the auto-lock feature changes performance when it's engaged. Keep your documentation simple but consistent: table for time, slip events, errors, and RPE scores, and short patient quotes to capture qualitative experience. Let's look at specific tests. The oscillation bar test, sometimes called the body blade test, is excellent for revealing fatigue under sustained load. Here's the setup. Your patient holds an oscillation bar or similar dynamic weight with their prosthetic device. The bar wobbles and oscillates, creating variable load. The task is to maintain the grip within a target wobble window. Not too stiff, not too loose, just controlled. You're going to compare performances across VO, VC, and VCAL-capable devices. Start a timer. Ask the patient to maintain that controlled wobble for as long as they can. What you're documenting? Time to form break. That's when the user can no longer maintain the grip or control the oscillation. And RPE, that's rate of perceived exertion. Use a simple 0 to 10 scale and check every minute or every 30 seconds. This test is simple, quick, and reveals real differences in sustained performance. Grip security under load is critical for user confidence. The weighted box test directly assesses whether the grip holds during carrying tasks. The embedded video will demonstrate the activity. You're going to compare performance across VO, VC, and VCAL-capable devices while documenting slip events and hold failures.
Another 15. And grab onto the box there. That's pretty heavy. but I'm able to lift it. It's pretty heavy. And then unlock and off you go.
The tip grip penny test evaluates precision, speed, and control in a functional task that simulates many daily activities, picking up small objects and placing them accurately. Place a series of pennies on a table. Your patient uses tip grip to pick up each penny and transfer it to a container or marked location. This is rapid, pick and place, and you're timing it. Compare performance across VO, VC, and VCAL-capable devices. What you're documenting: total time to complete the task, working envelope, meaning how close or far from their body they perform the task most efficiently, speed measured in items per minute, and regrips, which are instances where they have to reposition or regrasp the penny. Pay attention to regrips. Excessive regripping suggests the user doesn't trust the grip or isn't getting good force control. This test is fast, easy to score, and highly relevant to functional tasks like handling coins, keys, utensils, and small tools. The small peg test focuses on precision and the cognitive load associated with fine motor tasks. Use a pegboard with small pegs, something like a standardized peg test or even a simple DIY version with dowels and a board, or even an old battleship game. Your patient picks up a peg and places it into a hole. Repeat for a set number of pegs or a set time period. You're measuring the time to complete the task. Accuracy, meaning how many pegs are successfully placed versus dropped or misaligned, and regrips. Precision tasks require not just grip strength, but grip confidence and control. When users are worried about dropping the peg, they grip tighter than necessary or check visually more often. Both of these responses slow the task and increase cognitive load. With VCAL devices, especially in narrow lock mode, users can grip the peg with appropriate force, engage the lock, and then focus entirely on alignment and placement. They're not splitting attention between, am I holding this, and where does this go? Reduced cognitive load is a big part of why VCAL technology supports better daily function. Let's take a moment to reinforce the fundamental difference in effort demands across these three mechanisms, because understanding this is key to selecting the right device for your patient. With VO devices, users exert effort to keep a light grip open. They're pulling the cable to overcome the rubber bands. For tasks where they need to position the device to receive an object or open the grip in preparation, they're working continuously. Band tuning, adding or removing rubber bands, changes the demand, but the effort direction remains the same. With VC devices, users exert effort to keep any grip closed. The harder they pull, the tighter the grip, but the moment they ease off, the device springs open. For sustained holds, this means sustained effort. Task choice changes the demand. Light objects require less pull, heavy objects more, but the effort is continuous as long as they're holding something. With VCAL, the paradigm shifts. Users apply force to close the grip, ease off to allow the lock to engage, and then rest. The effort is in the intonation and the release, not in the sustained hold. This is a fundamentally different pattern of muscular demand, and it's what enables the fatigue reduction and the ergonomic benefits we've been discussing. Understanding these opposite effort patterns helps you match device type to patient needs, activity demands, and long-term tolerance. Clinical documentation doesn't need to be complicated to be valuable. In fact, simpler is often better because you're more likely to do it consistently. Use simple tables, columns for device type, time to complete tasks, slip events, task errors, and RPE scores. That's it. You can see patterns quickly, compare across devices, and share results with patients in a way they understand. Include short, direct patient quotes. These qualitative insights enrich your quantitative data and often capture benefits that numbers alone miss. Take pictures of setup, of the patient performing tasks, and of any notable outcomes. Photos make your records reproducible and help other clinicians understand your protocols. Compare data over time and use it to inform fitting decisions and justify recommendations. Simple, consistent records drive better care. They help you refine your practice, support your patient's goals, and contribute to the broader evidence base for VCAL technology. Let's consolidate what we've learned and prepare you for the quiz. Over the course of this presentation, we've covered 3 major areas. First, mechanisms and trade-offs. You now know the differences between VO, VC, and VCAL, not just mechanically, but functionally. You know the effort demands, the fatigue patterns, and the cognitive load associated with each. Second, tests that reveal differences. You have practical, clinical-ready protocols for evaluating fatigue, grip security, precision, and paced performance. These aren't research-grade instruments requiring expensive equipment. They're real-world tests that show meaningful differences in safety, comfort, and function. Third, workflow integration. VCAL technology fits into your existing clinical practice. It's compatible with your components, your fitting processes, and your documentation systems. You're adding capability, not rebuilding from scratch. These 3 areas, understanding the technology, having the tools to evaluate it, and knowing how to integrate it, are what you need to confidently recommend and fit VCAL devices for your appropriate patients. Let's quickly review the key terminology and concepts that will appear on the quiz. VO, voluntary opening. Rubber bands close, cable opens. Limited force, sustained effort to remain open. VC, voluntary closing, no lock. Cable closes, spring opens. Graded force, sustained effort to remain closed. VCAL, voluntary closing, auto lock. Cable closes, lock engage, grip holds without tension. Short pull releases, can operate in non-locking VC mode when desired. The VCAL has 3 modes: wide lock for large objects, narrow non-lock for repetitive tasks, and narrow lock for precision work. Modular cartridge design. Field serviceable, clinic level control, replaceable locking mechanism. Benefits: reduced fatigue, lower cognitive load, safer handling, better ergonomics, faster training, higher confidence. These are the core concepts you'll need for the quiz and for your clinical practice. All right, you're ready for the quiz. Here's what you need to know. The password to access the quiz is ProHensor 2026. That's PROHENSOR 2026. The passing score is 80%. You'll need at least 12 out of 15 questions answered correctly to earn your continuing education credit. The quiz consists of 15 questions, a mix of multiple choice and true-false. These are straightforward questions designed to confirm you've understood the key concepts we've covered. There are no trick questions. And here's good news: unlimited retakes. If you don't pass on your first attempt, you can review the material and try again. There's no penalty for retakes and no time limit. If you have any questions about the quiz, process, or technical issues, contact admin@marinsmed.com. They're there to help. Good luck, and thank you for investing this time in expanding your clinical knowledge. Before we close, I want to share something important about where this technology comes from. The engineering lead behind VCAL technology is a 35-year upper limb amputee. This isn't a device designed in a lab by engineers who've never worn a prosthesis. It's a device designed by someone who lives with limb loss every single day. That lived experience shapes everything about this technology. The design priorities, durability, usability, serviceability come directly from decades of daily use and the frustrations that come with devices that don't quite meet real-world needs. There's a continuous user feedback loop built into the development process. Real users, people living active, demanding lives with body-powered prosthetics, test prototypes, identify problems, suggest improvements, and validate solutions. This isn't theoretical engineering. It's practical problem-solving informed by the people who use these devices daily. Day-to-day usability was prioritized from the start. Not just can it work in a lab, but will it hold up to a full day of work, a weekend of hobbies, and years of daily use? That's the standard. When you fit a VCAL device, you're giving your patient something that was built with a deep understanding of what it's like to be an upper limb prosthetic user. That matters. It shows in the design choices, the practical features, and the outcome your patients will experience. This human-centered design philosophy is what sets VCAL technology apart. You don't have to implement this alone. There are resources available to support your use of VCAL technology in your clinic. First, downloadable evaluation templates and data collection tools. You'll find forms you can print or use digitally to document the tests we've described. These templates make consistent documentation easy and ensure you're capturing the right data. Second, there's a point of contact for clinical questions and technical support. Whether you need fitting guidance, troubleshooting help, or clarification on protocols, support is available. Don't hesitate to reach out. Marins Inc. wants you and your patients to succeed with this technology. Third, you're invited to share patient outcomes and feedback. Real-world use data helps everyone, other clinicians, future patients, and the ongoing development of the technology. Your observations matter. And finally, you'll find links to extended references and peer-reviewed literature. The National Academy's chapter on upper limb prosthetics is a particularly valuable resource. There are also manufacturer documents, directions for use, clinical booklets, and technical specifications, all available for download. Take advantage of these resources. They'll help you get the most out of VCAL technology and provide the best care for your patients. We've covered a lot in the last 45 minutes. You've learned about the mechanisms, the clinical advantages, the evaluation protocols, and the practical design benefits of VCAL technology. But more important than that, you've gained tools you can use immediately in your clinic. Tomorrow, you could run an oscillation bar test. Next week, you could evaluate a patient using the weighted box protocol. The knowledge you've gained here translates directly into better care for your patients. Body-powered prosthetics remain the clinical workhorse, and VCAL technology represents a significant step forward in making these devices safer, more comfortable, and more functional for everyday use. Your patients deserve reliable control, reduced fatigue, and confidence in their prosthetic devices. VCAL technology delivers on all three. Thank you for your attention, for your commitment to evidence-based practice, and for the work you do every day to improve the lives of people with limb loss. We'll see you in the clinic.